up guys, my name is Lauren and this is my husband Jake and welcome back to my channel. I recently shared with you in a video that he just got a new job and he works in tech, which is a very difficult industry right now. There's a lot of layoffs and a lot of people talking about applying to tens or hundreds of jobs and not being able to get a position. And the process went relatively smoothly. Like, it was still stressful, but relatively smoothly considering the environment right now. So I thought it might be helpful and interesting to talk with him about how he got his new job in tech, and maybe there's some tips and tricks in there that can help you in your own job search. So just to give you a little bit of an introduction, Jake got his bachelor's in music and then later on went back to school to get an MBA, got a job at a startup out of his MBA program and has been there for 8 years, and then recently decided to make a move to a new company. So I guess my first question for you is, do you say boom? And if so, why?
Yeah. I think, yes, I say boom a lot.
Is that a tech thing, or is that like a startup thing, or like
I
where?
don't know.
Like,
I think it's like maybe it's like I think it's a tech thing.
a tech thing.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's like boom.
Yeah. Comment below if you're in tech and you can explain where boom came from.
Yeah.
Let's kind of just start at the beginning of like a few months ago when you first decided you wanted to look for a new job. Like, what were the first like 2 or 3 things you did? Like, what were your first immediate steps you took when you decided to start looking for a new job?
Yeah, so the first couple steps first thing, I started calling around to people that I knew in my network. That was the very first thing. People who had, been at the company I was at and had left and that I had good relationships with. I started just meeting with them, even if like there wasn't going to be any immediate opportunity. I just said, okay, every week I'm going to like try to meet with a handful of people over Zoom.
Yeah.
For like 30 minutes and just, under the, let them know you're looking for a job and that you want to just get their advice, pick their brain, and then kind of also asking for a reference too.
And so how many people did you end up having that said yes to being references for you?
I had about 6 people who had said yes.
Okay, so that was a lot of Zoom calls.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, and then, so that was one thing you did. What's another, like, 1 or 2 more things you did, like, right the very, very beginning step?
I put together my resume. I didn't want my company to know that I was going to be looking, so I didn't want to change stuff on my LinkedIn, and then got a nice kind of cover letter together. I use ChatGPT for sure. One of the things that everyone's saying now is like a lot of people are using ChatGPT, so you got to make sure you personalize it and make it sound like it's you. But it's great for like a first step and to come up with new ideas and things like that.
Yeah. And in general, you use ChatGPT a lot in your job.
Yes.
Actually, I forgot to say this at the beginning, but what is your role within the tech industry? Like, what do you do?
So I do product marketing. It's kind of like, for anybody who doesn't know what that is, it's like a little sub-department in marketing that sort of sits between the side of the company where people are selling this product and the side of the company that's more technical where the people are building the product and sort of translating there. So my main thing that I have done now twice now, this is the second one, is be like the first product marketer at a company to figure out help figure out the go-to-market strategy, they say.
Okay. Cool. So you got your references, you updated your resume, you didn't update stuff on LinkedIn because you didn't want your employer to like be suspicious. So that's something that's good to think about actually if you are planning to look for a job maybe in like 6 months or a year. Make sure you're updating your LinkedIn now so that you're not doing it like right as you're sending out applications, and like just kind of do it like a little bit at a time.
Yes.
In general, how important do you think LinkedIn is as a tool when you're looking for a job? Like, do you think your LinkedIn presence had an impact on you finding a job so quickly, which the timeline was from the moment you started looking to getting an offer in hand that you accepted? It was approximately 8 weeks, so it was pretty quick. Yeah. Like, what role do you think LinkedIn played in that?
Yeah, I think LinkedIn helps. I have a little bit of a following on LinkedIn. I think honestly the thing that helps more was really just the resume. Like, I worked on making sure that the resume really kind of shined and that like I framed how the things that I did in the different roles, like by like success metrics of like not just like here's what my responsibilities were, but like here were the things that I succeeded in, and then I tried to like make it as unique as possible and like stand out. And that's where something where like you can use ChatGPT to help with something like that to come up with cool ideas.
And also you can have your wife review it and maybe she has some good ideas too.
Oh, big time. Yes, totally. Yeah, I
just
definitely did that.
in general, having like another set of eyes review it is always helpful because they might see things that you're missing too. So I reviewed it, you had ChatGPT's help and your own talents, and that put together like a nice resume.
Yeah, nice resume, and then the nice cover letter too. Like I figured out sort of a baseline one, and then tailored it to the different jobs that I was applying to. And like the thing with the cover letter is like the key is to like really think about how could you credibly talk about like making an impact at a company, and like looking at their like what are their company values, missions that they put up on the website, usually like in the company section you can see what their like company values are. You don't want to seem patronizing or something, but like it's good to reference those and talk about what they mean to you and be like serious about it, like, you know, come up with something that you genuinely mean. And again, ChatGPT.
How did you apply for the job that you eventually got?
I ended up just applying on the LinkedIn job posting. They have LinkedIn Easy Apply, and I've heard a lot of people say that like that it doesn't work and this and that, but like I actually applied to this job through that. Oh, and this was the other thing is I put on the file name on my resume something really compelling. You know, I put on the file name very clear, just Jake Miller, head of product marketing at blank company, and that way it would stand out. If a recruiter was just looking through a bunch of different ones, they would see that, oh, okay, that is exactly the type that we're looking for this role. So like, you know, stuff like that.
That's a good tip. And then how much time would you say you spent like learning about the company before you started the interview process?
I spent a decent amount of time. I was already in the space that the company was in, sort of like an adjacent space, like sales technology.
How many hours would you say you put in?
I put in maybe like 3 hours or 4 hours, maybe something like that.
Okay, that's a good amount of time to prep for an interview for a company in a space that's like similar to what you were already doing. Like you already knew how to do the job you were applying for, so
yes,
like, it's not like you had to do a lot of research on how to do the job. It was more just their company and where they're at and the market and stuff, right?
Exactly, and the domain, like the specifics of their domain, because it was like a new thing. It was definitely like a different part of the sales process that the technology helps support and stuff like that. So just and because the role for product marketing role is like so heavy on having domain expertise, like I wanted to make sure that I sounded like I was, you know, squared away.
Yeah. So somebody asked, how do you find a job in a startup? So this one you've just found on LinkedIn.
Found on LinkedIn.
And your job that you got out of school, how did you find that one?
That one I met one of the co-founders when they were a little company, like, you know, 20 people. One of the co-founders came and to the school that I was at doing that MBA program and spoke, and the person who I was working with in the like career department, she knew that I had like sales experience and that I was interested in technology, and so she was like, hey, this is she matched me up, and then I just met him and we hit it off, and then I went and started working for free at that place at first, but I was,
which is not an option for everyone.
Not an option.
That time.
At that time, it was.
Actually, one thing you had talked about is you were going to try applying for some jobs on LinkedIn and do your networking, but then if you didn't get any hits from there, you were going to go like back to your school and ask their alumni network for some leads. Yes. And so that may have ended up being another avenue that you could have found a job or a startup or something like that.
Yes, definitely. Yes, anything with your alumni network.
Yeah. And also you were reaching out to recruiters that didn't end up being needed, but that was another thing you were looking at.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, that was definitely something. So that was another thing where I just started looking at, you know, using ChatGPT and saying, okay, what are the best recruiting firms that, you know, are geared towards startups and stuff like that. And so I had a list together, and I had sort of like a pitch that I was gonna make to each of them, written up in like a real short, succinct cover letter really for them. And that was gonna be my next step, is just reaching out to, I figured I would do like reach out to five, the 5 best ones that I knew of.
Okay. That's a lot of different recruiters. I would have thought like 1 or 2, but that's probably more, the more you like put your feelers out there, the more you'll get matched with a recruiter who has like the right contacts for you.
Yes.
And for recruiting, you don't have to pay the recruiter. The company pays them like a commission when you get hired, right?
Exactly.
Okay,
Yep.
so recruiters are free.
It's basically free.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. All right, and just kind of going back to talking about startups, like, why do you like startups versus working for a mid-size or large company? And like, what type of personality do you think is a good fit for a startup?
Yeah, so I like startups a lot because it's like there's like a lot of freedom to kind of, decide what you want to do in each day to really kind of make a bigger impact on whether the business is going to fail or succeed. I like it because it's definitely more like sort of action bias rather than planning, and I tend to be more of a little lighter on the planning and heavy on the action sometimes. That's just my personality type.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't think I would do well in a startup.
Yeah, maybe not.
I think like there's not enough structure. I think I would like, I have my own business. I like being creative and having that freedom, but it's kind of chaotic.
It is, yeah.
Right?
And
like
ambiguous.
and you like thrive in the chaos, whereas
Yes.
I like my systems and plans and like things going in order, whereas like for you'll be in the middle of something and then you'll be like fire drill over here and totally abandon that, and like everybody's attention's over here and then back to here, and
Yes.
like that kind of went away as you got further into your job.
At my
Your
last
last
place.
role, it just went from 20 employees to 300, so it just like it was a different work environment by the time you left.
Yes.
And you like that kind of early stage thing more, right?
Yes, exactly. As the company grows more, there's like a little more process driven. It's like you spend more time kind of documenting, and it just things move more slowly in general.
Mm-hmm.
But the trade-off is like you also don't have so much ambiguity in a later stage, like early in the startup world. It's like there's just so much ambiguity. There's always like twice as much work on your plate than any human could ever get done. Part of the job is figuring out strategically what are you going to let slip, because you'll never be able to get everything done.
Yeah, that's stressful.
So yeah, and then the other thing I was going to say I like about the startup is like that it's very tight knit. Like you like with the people, you're all sort of like, it's like you're all like pushing a boulder uphill together, and the whole world is kind of against you. So everybody's it's very like tight knit, and like I like that.
Yeah, people are like really about like teamwork and helping each other.
Yes.
It's not like competitive or like
No,
people
yes.
like it's competitive like you guys against the rest of
Yes.
the space versus like one-upping each other.
Yes, big time. Yeah,
Yeah.
it doesn't have like the politics and stuff like that.
Yeah.
To the extent I guess that it does in like a bigger company. It's much more. Yeah, it's like it's just very team oriented kind of environment.
And that's part of the reason why you decided to make this move too, is because your other company was no longer a startup and you really enjoy that environment, and so you wanted to make a move. And it's interesting because I know that like when you first started working at a startup back 8 years ago when you got out of school, it seemed like a risky thing to work at a startup because startups like go under or people get laid off. It just feels like more of a precarious thing because it's not an established company. But nowadays, like these big companies are laying off like half their employees all in one massive layoff. So it doesn't necessarily feel in this environment more risky to be at a startup versus a big company. So if it's something you've been avoiding because you feel like a big company is more stable, then I don't know that that's necessarily the case right now.
Yeah, right now.
Yeah. Okay, so somebody wanted to know what are some key questions to ask startups like during the interview process from somebody in leadership or management? Like what were some of the questions you asked during the interview?
First thing I always ask questions about like what do they enjoy most about the culture, and like the work environment.
When they answer, you kind of have to read between the lines too and see like, of course everybody's going to say positive things, but do you feel like they're being genuine or do you feel like they're just like BSing you?
Yes.
And like what specific things do they highlight?
Right, and
about
how
the
quickly
culture?
can they come to an answer? How much are they jumping to say yes? It's awesome. Like at the place that I went to now, the recruiter was like, I just love it. It's like there's like a buzzing in the air, and he was like, I know it sounds like BS kind of, but I'm not even joking. It really, and I could tell he was genuine, based on how he was saying it. So
yeah. And what are some of the questions you asked like the really high up people in the company during your interview?
Yeah, so questions around like the financial viability of the company. You have to be tactful in how you ask it, but
Yeah.
and that's again ChatGPT. Ask ChatGPT for these things, but questions around like what are your financial backing, like who are your investors, what what series are you at, how much investment have you taken, what is the strategic plan for growing the business over the next 3 years. How do you think about capturing the market that you're in? What are some of the big risks that you see in the market and with your company and with this product? What are the biggest reasons that people don't want to buy from you? Like questions.
These are good questions.
Yeah, yeah. Get into like their strategy and the viability. Other questions around like what's the burn rate of cash? Again, you got to be careful how you phrase it and be tactful, because you don't want to just say what's your burn rate. That's
Right.
Are they spending like drunken sailors, or are they like much more cash conscious and building a business more solidly from the ground up and stuff.
What was the most important thing you were looking for in a new role? Like, what was the number one thing you wanted out of it? Like, more of what?
More excitement and me being able to make an impact.
Okay. Yeah. I definitely found that in this
Yes.
role.
Yeah.
And do you think it's okay to negotiate your salary and your benefits
Yes.
at a startup?
Yes, you should. Every time. You should always negotiate. You should try to come in, a lot of times there'll be like, 10% bump of what you can, of what they originally offer you. But it's always good to negotiate.
Again, with tact.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
Respectfully.
Yeah. Respectfully. So yeah, definitely negotiate.
But if you negotiate, also be prepared for a no, and then to have to decide whether you still want the role if it is a no, right?
Yes, exactly.
Because it doesn't, negotiations, sometimes they give you something and sometimes they don't. But I think it's always worth asking the question. I always negotiated every offer, every annual review. I always asked for more every single time, and it's really uncomfortable, but I think almost every single time except maybe one time I got more than they were originally offering. I didn't get what I was asking for, but I got more than they were originally offering. So
yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, every raise I've ever gotten, I've always negotiated, try to ask for more.
Yeah.
Even if it's like a cost of living raise or something,
Yeah.
I'm like, well, can I get more? And here's why. Like, kind of
Right,
have a real
justify
reason
it,
why.
yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Have a good, legitimate, well thought out, tactful reason as to why you are worth that much money. It has nothing to do with what your bills are.
Right.
It's
yes.
not like
that's
I
not,
need
yes.
this money because that's what my bills
What
are.
my
It's
bills
like
are,
what
right.
your value is.
Yes.
to
What your
company.
value? Yeah. Why? What's the case for why it's valuable to them?
Right.
And like for using wording for this kind of thing, just go to ChatGPT, because it'll help you be able to like think of come up with the right way to phrase it to where you're not sounding and feeling sleazy or something the way you put it. That you're coming at it from a place of like, this is business. It is known that in business I should negotiate.
Right. They actually may respect you more for negotiating than if you don't.
Yep.
So it's kind of like
it's almost like a signal something.
Yeah, it's like a technique in and of itself for like how they're going to view you.
Yes, and treat you going forward.
Right. Do you have any suggestions for somebody who wants to transition into tech in some capacity? Because you did that. You got your bachelor's in music, and then you were out in Hollywood trying to make moves, and then pivoted later in life into business through an MBA program and got into tech. So like you went from like arts to being in tech. Like what sort of tips do you have for somebody who wants to get into tech who doesn't necessarily want to go through an MBA program? Do you have any ideas of what they can do?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think the first thing is like to have the confidence that you can get into it. One of the things that I thought was like, oh, I need to be like a computer genius to be able to get into tech. Totally not the case. Think about it like this. Any tech company that's developing a technology is also, they're selling a product to regular people. So you might have an even stronger perspective going in than somebody who has been in the tech world the whole time. So have that confidence. The second thing is like, think about a technology that's close to where you worked. Like if you're going from healthcare, look at technologies that support that industry that you were in.
Yeah, because that's what you did. Because
That's exactly what I did.
Between your music career and your MBA, you were in sales, and so you ended up at a technology company that is for sales teams, and so you're able to leverage that experience into being like really good subject matter knowledge for the role you had in your tech job.
Yep, and then you just learn. You pick it up as you go with, with the tech side.
Because nobody really knows what they're doing.
Yeah, and then especially now, too, with AI, like if you're looking at AI companies and stuff, like it's a great time to get into AI because there's a time right now nobody is as like a 20-year expert. Like everybody's getting into AI, even the people who've been in tech. Everybody's having to learn something new right now, so it does level the playing field a little bit.
That's a good point. Okay, somebody wanted to know, were you scared to leave your old job? I'm always nervous meeting new coworkers. That's not really your personality. You're like fine meeting new people. That's more like me. I would be like scared to meet new people, but I don't want to answer for you. I mean, how'd you feel about that?
Yeah, I mean,
you're like sick of them anyway.
No, I love my coworkers at the old job, but I think, like, for me, it was never about the fear about new people, because, like, I tend to love going into a new group and everything like that.
Yeah.
But the thing about it was the security. By the end of the company I was at previously, like, I knew the space inside and out, I knew the product inside and out, I knew my job inside and out, and I could just...
You knew all the personalities, like, for better or for worse.
Yeah, I knew the whole everything, and so I was just so comfortable and secure. And then the idea of going back and leaving and going somewhere else, that was definitely very scary.
Yeah, there's a processing time to come to terms with that.
Yes, but now that I've done it, I'm like, oh, okay, I'm really glad that I did it.
Yeah, kind of wrapping it up. Any other important things you think people should know when they're looking for a job in tech right now, or things that you did, or anything we didn't cover?
Think about a company that you're excited about. Like, that's the number one thing. Like, if you're not super excited about it, it's going to be a bigger it's going to be more of an uphill battle to go through what you need to go through to get into the company. So really try to find something. That can be the hardest part, to know what we like, what we want. And so just trying to get at that. Are you, is it something you're excited about, company you're excited about? Also, looking at the kinds of questions that they're asking you, looking out for red flags. And again, that's something, go on Google or go on ChatGPT and ask, what are some good red flags to look out for? Things that indicate the culture or the work environment's not going to be great.
This is not really related to that, but something else you did is you had a mutual connection with somebody at your new company, and so you reached out to them, and that was actually somebody you'd been networking with anyway.
Yes.
And so you reached out to them and said, hey, would you put in a good word for me? And this was during the interview process, so you would stand out above and beyond any other candidates they were interviewing as okay, he's knows somebody that I know and isn't such a wild card.
Yes.
Just somebody off of LinkedIn.
That was big. I think that really went a long way.
So if you've been sending out a lot of applications and not getting any interviews, maybe try to network more. And networking sucks. It's so awkward and nobody wants to do it. But you take networking meetings with people all the time. People will reach out to you on LinkedIn and be like, hey, I see the role you're in. I want to do that in my career. Would you be willing to meet with me for 15 or 30 minutes on Zoom to talk about how you got to where you are, and you meet with people and help them out. And so if you're not able to get interviews and you want to get meetings, just reach out to people on LinkedIn who are doing what you want to do and see if they'll talk to you, because a lot of times people are happy to give their time to people that are go-getters like that.
Yes, definitely. Yeah, the thing that people say is network when you don't need it necessarily, so that way. But if you're in a place right now where you need it, you can, networking. And also it just, that reminded me of don't just do the easy apply and then move on. Follow up. You can't bug the people enough. Maybe reach out to the hiring manager and send them something that's interesting, that'll kind of pique their attention, and find your list of top companies, and the ones that are at the very top, just spend extra time on those with doing lots of outreach to them. And believe in yourself. That's the biggest thing, is having that belief.
It can be super demoralizing, I think, to go through this process. Even you, who it went very smoothly, it was extremely stressful. And you had you hadn't been laid off, you weren't being forced out of your role, you left by choice, and it was still a very emotional, overwhelming process to go through.
Yep.
And so just like hang in there, something will work out for you. And you just, if what you're doing repeatedly isn't working, then you need to take a step back and like reevaluate your process and things you're doing and like change your strategy. You got to make sure you're putting your effort towards the right things to like maximize your chances.
Yeah, and you don't have to change your whole strategy, throw it all out the window. Change like one thing at a time. You know, that's another thing to like, you don't feel like you have to do that. And just the suspending of disbelief is the big thing. Like, and this is something I learned when I like going through doing sales. It's like so often in sales, you have a customer in front of you, and it just seems like you're like, there's no way this person's gonna buy. And like you just have to suspend disbelief.
Yeah.
You don't want to just be like false hope or whatever, but keep on, you know, believing.
Well, thank you so much for these tips. I hope that you guys found this helpful and interesting, whether you're looking for a job or planning to look for a job or trying to switch into the tech industry. So I think this is the second video you've done on my channel where we're talking, right? We did one a while back talking about like money and relationships, which I'll actually link in the video description if you want to check that out. And then this one. So hopefully we'll have you back for another video at some point, because this is fun, not having to talk for my own YouTube videos, just having somebody else do the talking and I can just ask questions. So
I love it.
Thank you guys so much for watching. If you liked this video, then as always, give it a big thumbs up. And if you want to see more videos from me, then hit that subscribe button. I'd love to have you as a subscriber, and I'll see you guys soon in my next video. Bye. Your face is just kind of like... like a dead frog.
Yeah, like a dead frog. I'm just like rambling.
Yeah, it's okay. So.
Try again.
No, that's good.
That was good?
That's good, yeah.
Okay.
Cool.
Cool.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.